Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Raising the New Earth podcast. I am your host, Noah Dory, and this is another bite-sized solo episode. And this week is all about bipolar disorder. So, from a holistic perspective and chakra medicine perspective, when we look at the chakras and we get to the crown chakra, the seventh and final chakra, also known as Sahasrara, and in Sanskrit that means thousand petals. Um, when we see an unbalanced crown chakra, we know that this is associated with mental disorders and depression. However, when it's balanced and open, the crown chakra serves as the bridge into the field of pure being, happiness, and enlightenment. The element of the crown chakra is consciousness itself. So the energy is everywhere and in everything, effortlessly connecting to, to the universe through the true self. It is really fascinating to see how the crown chakra is correlated from a Taoist medicine to the neocortex and the pineal gland, and how an unbalanced correlation to those organs can create an unbalanced mental health. From a toxic heavy metal perspective, some believe that toxic heavy metals are the true physical cause of bipolar disorder. And when someone has elevated amounts of metals in their brain runs hotter, just like in epilepsy. With bipolar, the heating is different because the combination of metals, or as medical medium calls it, the alloy of metals retains heat for longer periods of time. So generally, the alloy behind bipolar is composed of mercury, copper, toxic aluminum, toxic calcium, arsenic, toxic platinum, and nickel. The levels of each one differentiates for everyone, and the combination can be different. But when one thing is consistent, though, when those alloys get heated up, that heat can last for longer periods of time because metals hold onto the heat for longer, and that heat is constant, but the temperature is the one that fluctuates. We know that when toxic metals are involved, just like when we saw in previous episodes, when they're involved with the emotional centers of the brain, impeding electrical impulses and neuron activity, increased heat then occurs on an ongoing basis. So making someone really emotional, even when life seems okay, and hence the imbalanced reaction to the situation. And we notice that as the metals in the emotional centers are heated up, their lasting heat radiates from those from these metals into brain cells and into neurons in the emotional centers of the brain. So brain cells and neurons in the region around these metals dehydrate and burn out and atrophy. So that alone is what we see as a low grade bipolar disorder. For a more heightened version of bipolar disorder, someone needs to have a trigger. And we always look back to what is the ultimate trigger. The ultimate trigger is stress. It's the adrenaline release. And when the adrenaline is there day in and day out without the recognizing of the need to slow down, to de-stress, and to fuel the brain with proper glucose from fruits, that ignites an electrical storm, a hurricane. And that excessive heating from the excess adrenaline really cannot be cooled down without any burnouts. So when someone is working, 24 hours a day, nonstop, and then crashes, or when someone works 72 hours and then crashes, it is someone that cannot get into a deep rest, and creates fatigue in their bodies, and has this hidden motivation and drive for something. However, from the other side, the electrical storm that displays itself is crucial to be slowed down. And it is crucial to look at the whole puzzle and realize that adrenaline can lead to that emotional sensitivity that varies. So when we look at bipolar specifically, we know that there are serious problems with blood sugar because the liver is sluggish and they can't balance the glucose in their blood. So for the clients, when I worked at the mental health facility, for clients that I have seen with bipolar disorder, I made sure that they eat their adrenal snacks every hour and a half, max 2 hours. And that adrenal snacks was a combination of glucose and potassium and sodium. An example could be dates, apples, and celery. This is my personal to-go-to. And I made sure that they stay consistent with their adrenaline monitoring by giving their bodies adrenal snacks. And just like we talked about in the previous episode, those heavy metals that come from, mercury, aluminum, copper, cadmium, lead, arsenic, chrome, nickel, alloy, and steel, those are the antagonizers that can wreak havoc on our bodies. And they hide everywhere these days. They hide in vaccines and fish, farmed and wild. They hide in baby food, supplements that don't have as much regulation on them. Powders, any powder. It can be, green powder, shake powder, cans, fumes, perfumes, scented candles, cosmetics, sunscreens, laundry detergents, fumes, house cleaning products. They are everywhere. And also we have to realize that we have heavy metals within us, for many of us, at least since before we were born, because it's passed down from generation to generation. So the heavy metals that one has would be from their mom's womb and their mom's womb, and so on and so forth. And those heavy metals need to find their way out. And with the bipolar disease, along with holistic way of being this individual's partner through balancing the crown chakra, through removing the heavy metals, through managing the adrenaline by applying the adrenal snack every hour and a half to 2 hours. All these create a platform for healing, possibly, right? And so when we stop running hot all the time and there is a break, we can then enter a different phase of healing. We can enter that phase of ultimately that mental health needs to be looked at holistically, right? We need to look at it as a connection to and as a source of well-being, right? A symptom or a diagnosis of not being fully connected means to us that we need to connect back to yourself, to who we truly are, through guidance of nutritionists, psychiatric teams, psychologists, health coaches. And it's important to understand that we have the ability to be the best versions of ourselves. But when we disconnect from the source, from that which you feel alive, that's when dis-ease and mental instability comes to play, right? So yeah, I hope this helps. There is so much to still discuss when it comes to mental health, but those little bite size, I'm hoping that will give you the opportunity to look at it differently, right? And when we look at heavy metals, we know it's everywhere. Then a question can rise, how do we get rid of them? So there are a few ways of getting rid of them. First, when you know the triggers, you try to avoid them as much as possible. Then you need to attend to your mitochondria and your terrain by feeding your body the most nutritious meals that one can find. Another one is Medical Medium's Heavy Metal Detox, which has spirulina and barley grass juice powder, Atlantic dulse. cilantro, wild blueberries. A combo of those can be put into a smoothie or a bowl, or just spread throughout the day on its own. Um, I love using ion foot detox in my clinic, infrared sauna, even regular sauna is great. If someone deals with a fragile nervous system, then, attending to the nervous system and the lymphatic system through supplements and through um, holistic guidance is good. And of course, there's so much to do. From a mainstream psychiatric perspective, I really, really like the work of Dr. Daniel Amen and his clinic. Um, I think he does an amazing job, and I think he's the only psychiatrist who actually looks at brain imaging to understand more about that person's situation. And he's the only psychiatrist that I know that applies nutrition and a holistic view to an individual diagnosis and need. So I highly recommend you look into his blog as well. I think it's mnclinics.com, but you can look him up, Dr. Daniel Amen. All right, I hope this was helpful in finding that, pattern and path to a more holistic healing and realization. All right. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you next week. Bye.